First contact and growing tensions. Admiral Elena Santos stood at the observation deck of the Terran Defense Station Aegis, watching the massive Archean diplomatic vessel emerge from hyperspace. The crystalline ship sparkled like a diamond against the backdrop of Earth's atmosphere, its bioorganic architecture a stark contrast to the utilitarian design of human vessels. This would be humanity's fourth first contact in as many years, but something felt different about this one. Admiral, the Archean ambassador requests immediate audience with the Security Council, her AI assistant Era announced. They're marking it as urgent diplomatic communications. Santos sighed, straightening her uniform. In the 15 years since humanity had first stepped onto the galactic stage, they had maintained a careful policy of neutrality. It had served them well, allowing them to trade with all sides while developing their own technology and expanding their colonies without getting drawn into the centuries-old conflicts that plagued the known galaxy. "Tell them we'll follow standard diplomatic protocols," Santos replied. "They can dock at Base 7, and their delegation will be escorted to the station's conference center." The Archean ship's crystalline surface rippled in acknowledgement, a form of communication that still fascinated human scientists. As Santos made her way to the conference center, she reviewed the intelligence briefings on her neural interface. The Archean Federation had been at war with the Vectari Collective for over 300 years, a conflict that had shaped the political landscape of half the galaxy. The conference room was already filled with holographic projections of UN Security Council members when Santos arrived. The Archean delegation entered moments later, tall, ethereal beings with iridescent skin and flowing movements that seemed to defy gravity. Their ambassador, who introduced himself as First Light of Dawn, waited for the traditional exchanges of greeting before getting straight to the point. "Honorable representatives of humanity," the ambassador's translator conveyed, "we come seeking alliance. The Vectari have developed a new weapon, one that threatens not just our civilization, but the stability of space-time itself. We need your help." Santos watched the council members' reactions carefully. Humanity's policy of neutrality had been controversial from the start, but it had allowed them to advance their technology and establish colonies without becoming entangled in ancient conflicts. The Archeans were offering something new, partnership with one of the galaxy's oldest civilizations. "We appreciate your directness, Ambassador," Council President Chen responded. "But you understand our position. Humanity maintains neutrality for the benefit of all species we trade with." First Light of Dawn's skin rippled with patterns that the translation software interpreted as frustration. "The Vectari are already moving to court your species. They will offer you technology, resources, protection, but they cannot be trusted. They seek only to use you, as they have used countless other species." Santos noticed something in the ambassador's tone that the translation software missed. Fear. The Archeans, for all their advanced technology and ancient wisdom, were afraid. Not just of losing their war, but of something bigger. "Perhaps," Santos spoke up, drawing surprised looks from the council members, "the ambassador could elaborate on this new weapon. If it truly threatens space-time stability, that would concern all species, neutral or otherwise." First Light of Dawn's skin shifted to a deep blue. "The weapon, it creates localized areas where the laws of physics can be temporarily rewritten. They've already used it to destroy 3 of our outer colony systems. The effect spreads with each use." The room fell silent. Santos felt a chill run down her spine. Humanity had theorized about such weapons, but had never pursued their development due to the risks involved. If the Vectari had actually created one, "We will need time to verify these claims," President Chen finally said, "and to discuss this matter with our own scientists and military advisors." "Of course," First Light of Dawn replied, but his skin patterns showed clear disappointment. "But please understand, time is not on anyone's side in this matter. The Vectari will come to you soon with their own offers. When they do, remember that neutrality in the face of existential threats is no virtue." As the Archean delegation departed, Santos couldn't shake the feeling that humanity's careful position of neutrality was about to become much harder to maintain. She had studied enough history to know that sooner or later, every neutral party faces a moment when they must choose sides. The real question was, what would happen when humanity finally made that choice? The next day, as if to confirm the Archean warning, long-range sensors detected a Vectari diplomatic fleet entering the solar system. The game of galactic politics was about to become much more complicated, and humanity's dedication to neutrality would face its greatest test yet. The breaking point. The Vectari delegation arrived with considerably more fanfare than the Archeans. Their ships, dark angular constructs that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, formed a precise geometric pattern around Earth's orbit. Admiral Santos watched from the same observation deck as before, but this time she wasn't alone. Dr. Marcus Jung, Earth's leading physicist in quantum mechanics, stood beside her. "Their ships are impossible," Jung muttered, adjusting his spectacles as he studied the data streaming across his neural interface. The energy readings were getting. They're manipulating space-time at a fundamental level, just to move. Santos nodded grimly. The Archeans weren't lying about the Vectari's technological advances. Question is, what do they want from us? The answer came 3 hours later in the same conference room. The Vectari ambassador, who called herself Echo of Infinite Darkness, cut an imposing figure. Unlike the ethereal Archeans, the Vectari appeared almost mechanical, their bodies covered in what looked like living metal that shifted and moved with their thoughts. Humanity. Echo began without preamble, her voice a harmonious blend of tones that required no translation. Your species stands at a crossroads. The Archeans have no doubt attempted to sway you with tales of our supposed crimes. We are here to offer you truth and opportunity. President Chen maintained a diplomatic smile. We appreciate your directness, Ambassador. However, as we informed the Archean delegation, Earth maintains its neutrality. Neutrality. Echo's metallic features shifted in what might have been amusement, is a luxury of peaceful times. We offer you partnership in shaping the future of this galaxy. The Archeans cling to old ways, refusing to embrace evolution. We have learned to control the very fabric of reality. This knowledge could be yours. Dr. Zhang leaned forward slightly. You speak of controlling reality itself. The energy readings from your ships suggest capabilities beyond our current understanding of physics. Precisely. Echo gestured, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a star system where space itself seemed to fold and ripple like fabric in the wind. This is but a fraction of what we can achieve, what we could teach you. Santos felt her jaw clench. The display was both fascinating and terrifying. The Vectari weren't just offering technology. They were offering power over the fundamental forces of the universe. And what would this partnership require of us? Chen asked carefully. Merely the end of your neutrality policy, access to your shipping lanes, the right to establish bases in your territory. In return, we will share knowledge that would advance your civilization by centuries. The room erupted in whispered conversations among the council members. Santos watched their reactions, noting how many seemed tempted by the offer. She couldn't blame them. The potential benefits were astronomical. But over the next 3 months, the true cost of both sides' attention became clear. Archean and Vectari ships began appearing near Earth's colonies with increasing frequency. Trade routes became dangerous as pirates, suspiciously well-armed and using advanced technology, targeted ships trading with the opposite faction. The breaking point came at the Proxima Centauri colony. Santos was awakened in the middle of the night by an urgent communication. The colony's governor appeared as a hologram in her quarters, his face ashen. Admiral, we're detecting massive spatial distortions. 2 fleets, Archean and Vectari, have dropped out of hyperspace and are engaging each other in our orbit. They're demanding we deny port access to the other side. Santos was already moving, pulling on her uniform. Maintain neutrality protocols. I'm deploying the 3rd Fleet to your position. Do not, under any circumstances, allow either side to establish a military presence. But by the time human ships arrived at Proxima Centauri, the damage was done. The space station was heavily damaged, caught in the crossfire between the two alien fleets. Hundreds of colonists were dead, and both sides blamed the other for the escalation. In an emergency session of the Security Council, Santos stood before the world's leaders and delivered the news they had all been dreading. "We can no longer maintain neutrality through passive means," she declared. "Both the Arctians and Vecteri are now conducting military operations in our space, each claiming they're protecting us from the other. If we don't respond decisively, we'll be drawn into their war on their terms, not ours." President Chen's hologram nodded gravely. "What are you suggesting, Admiral?" Santos took a deep breath. "It's time to show them why humanity chose neutrality not out of weakness, but strength. Project Prometheus needs to be activated." The room fell silent. Project Prometheus had been humanity's best-kept secret, a defensive system that had been in development since first contact. No one had wanted to use it, but now it seemed they had no choice. The next day, both the Arctian and Vecteri ambassadors were summoned to receive humanity's response to their demands. Neither of them realized they were about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating humanity's resolve to maintain its independence. Forced hand. Project Prometheus was unveiled on a quiet Tuesday morning. Both alien delegations had arrived at the Aegis station, expecting another round of diplomatic negotiations. Instead, they witnessed humanity's answer to their increasingly aggressive posturing. Admiral Santos stood at the command center, surrounded by holographic displays showing every human colony and installation across 36 star systems. "Initialize Prometheus Protocol," she ordered, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. The response was immediate and spectacular. Around Earth, hundreds of previously invisible satellites shimmered into existence as their quantum camouflage deactivated. Similar revelations occurred at every human colony and installation. Defensive platforms that had been hiding in plain sight for years, their existence concealed by technology that neither the Arctians nor Vecteri had realized humans possessed. But the satellites were just the beginning. Throughout human space, massive structures began emerging from what appeared to be empty space, massive defensive stations that dwarfed anything the aliens had deployed. Each one bristled with weapons that incorporated elements of both Arctian and Vecteri technology, refined and improved upon by human engineers. "Impossible," Echo of Infinite Darkness whispered, her metallic features contorting in what might have been fear. "Your species couldn't have developed this level of technology so quickly." "You both made the same mistake," Santos replied calmly. "You assumed our neutrality meant we weren't learning from every interaction, every scrap of data we could gather about your technologies. We traded with both sides, studied both sides, and improved upon both sides' innovations." First light of dawn's skin rippled with patterns of disbelief. "The quantum camouflage. It's based on Arctian biotechnology. But you've achieved a level of stability we never could. And the spatial manipulation fields around those stations," Echo added, "they incorporate principles we thought only we had mastered. But the implementation, it's different, more efficient." Santos nodded. "Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to learn, adapt, and improve upon what we observe. While you both tried to force us to choose sides, we were developing defenses against both of you." The holographic displays showed the full extent of Project Prometheus, a defensive network that could lock down human space within minutes, using technology derived from both alien civilizations, but refined in ways neither had conceived. "We're activating these defenses now," Santos continued, "not as an act of aggression, but as a demonstration. All alien military vessels have 24 hours to withdraw from human space. After that, the defense network will automatically target any unauthorized military ships, regardless of origin." "You would dare threaten us?" Echo's voice carried harmonics of rage. "The Vecteri Collective has the power to rewrite reality itself. Yes, Santos replied, and we've developed countermeasures specifically for that technology. Would you like a demonstration? She gestured, and one of the defensive platforms fired a precisely calibrated beam at a nearby piece of space debris. The beam struck the debris, and for a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, the quantum fields the Vectari used to manipulate spacetime simply stopped working in that area. Echo physically recoiled. How? We call it a quantum nullification field, Santos explained. It prevents any artificial manipulation of spacetime within its effect radius. Your reality warping weapons would be useless against it. First light of dawn's skin had turned almost translucent with shock. The Archean Federation has existed for millennia. We have never encountered a species that could effectively counter both of your civilization's greatest advantages. Santos finished for him. That's because you both forgot something fundamental about humanity. We don't just adapt to survive. We adapt to thrive. The message was clear. Humanity hadn't been playing both sides. They'd been preparing for the day when both sides might become threats. The defensive network wasn't just a deterrent. It was proof that humanity had surpassed both civilizations in key areas of military technology. We're transmitting new diplomatic protocols to both your governments, Santos continued. Earth remains neutral, but this neutrality will now be actively enforced. Any military action within human space will be met with immediate defensive measures. Additionally, any attack on human vessels or colonies anywhere in the galaxy will trigger automatic sanctions against the responsible party. As the alien ambassadors digested this information, Santos delivered the final blow. We're also sharing proof of our defensive capabilities with every other spacefaring civilization in known space. The days of treating human territory as a proxy battlefield are over. The implications were clear. Humanity hadn't just developed the means to defend itself. It had changed the balance of power in the galaxy overnight. The question now was how both ancient civilizations would respond to this new reality. The human response. The weeks following the activation of Project Prometheus sent shockwaves through galactic civilization. The Archean Federation and Vectari Collective both withdrew their military forces from human space, but neither power could simply accept this new status quo. Their centuries-old conflict had become more complicated with the emergence of humanity as a genuine power. Admiral Santos found herself in an unusual position, giving a presentation to a joint session of the UN Security Council and representatives from both alien powers. The conference room aboard Aegis Station had been modified to accommodate all three species comfortably, a small but significant gesture of humanity's new approach to interstellar relations. Our position remains unchanged, Santos explained, standing before a holographic display of known space. We maintain our neutrality, but now we enforce it. In the past month, we've intercepted 17 attempted incursions into human space. Each was dealt with according to our new protocols. The hologram highlighted several points where Prometheus platforms had engaged alien vessels. In each case, the intruders had been disabled without destruction. Their weapons and drive systems, temporarily nullified, then escorted to the border of human space. This is unprecedented, declared the new Archean ambassador, Evening Tide Rising. No species has ever developed countermeasures to both our biocrystalline technology and Vectari reality manipulation simultaneously. Because no species ever had the opportunity to study both, Dr. Zhang interjected. He had been promoted to Chief of Xenotechnology after the Prometheus revelation. Your endless war created the perfect laboratory for human innovation. Every skirmish, every technological advancement by either side provided us with data. Echo of Infinite Darkness, who had remained as the Vectari ambassador, shifted her metallic form in what humans had learned was a gesture of grudging respect. You studied our conflicts as learning opportunities. While we saw your neutrality as weakness, you were analyzing our strengths and weaknesses. Precisely, Santos confirmed. But now we're offering something new. A genuine peace initiative, backed by enforcement capabilities that neither side can easily circumvent. The hologram shifted to show a new map, proposed neutral zones between Archean and Vectari space, monitored by human Prometheus platforms. These zones would act as buffers, preventing direct military confrontation, while allowing civilian and commercial traffic under strict oversight. You would place your technology between our forces. Evening Tide's skin rippled with skepticism. What prevents us from simply developing countermeasures to your countermeasures? Nothing, Santos replied honestly. We expect you'll try. But consider this. Humanity developed these defenses in less than 2 decades. How much more could we develop if either side forces us to take a more active role in your conflict? The threat was subtle but clear. Humanity's rate of technological advancement had already proven exceptional. If pushed, they could become an even more formidable power. But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. The junior Vectari scientist, analyzing the human quantum nullification technology, made a startling discovery. The same principles that allowed it to neutralize space-time manipulation could potentially be used to stabilize the damage caused by the Vectari's reality warping weapons. This revelation led to the first joint research project between all 3 species, a program to repair the spatial damage from centuries of warfare. It was a small step, but a significant one. The presence of human technology and oversight created opportunities for cooperation that had previously seemed impossible. Over the following months, trade resumed under new protocols. Human ships, now openly equipped with both defensive and diplomatic technologies, became preferred neutral carriers for sensitive cargo and negotiations. The Prometheus platforms, while primarily defensive, began serving as neutral meeting grounds for diplomatic exchanges. But not everyone welcomed these changes. Hardliners in both alien civilizations saw human intervention as a threat to their traditional power structures. Several attempts were made to breach or disable the Prometheus network, each more sophisticated than the last. Yet each attempt revealed something crucial. Humanity's defensive technology wasn't static. It was learning, adapting, and improving with each engagement. They still don't fully understand, Santos remarked to Dr. Zhang after a particularly challenging incursion attempt. Prometheus isn't just a defensive network, it's a test bed for human innovation. Every attack teaches us something new. Zhang nodded, reviewing data from the latest encounter. The real question is whether they'll learn to cooperate before they force us to demonstrate just how much we've learned from their attacks. The answer to that question would determine not just the future of human space, but the fate of a galaxy long torn by war. A new balance. 5 years after the activation of Project Prometheus, Admiral Santos stood in the newly constructed Galactic Cooperation Center, built in Earth's orbit as a symbol of the changed balance of power. The massive station, incorporating technology from all 3 civilizations, hosted representatives from dozens of spacefaring species who had been drawn into humanity's expanding sphere of influence. The latest reports from the Reality Stabilization Project are encouraging, Dr. Zhang announced to the assembled delegates. The holographic display showed healing tears in spacetime across formerly contested systems. The combination of Archean biocrystalline matrices, Vectari spatial manipulation, and human quantum nullification technology has allowed us to repair nearly 60% of the damaged regions. Santos watched the reactions among the delegates. The Archeans' skin patterns showed pride tinged with humility. They had finally accepted that working with others could achieve what centuries of warfare could not. The Vectari representatives, their metallic forms now incorporating subtle elements of human and Archean design, displayed their own version of acceptance. But it was the smaller powers that truly demonstrated how much had changed. Species that had once been pawns in the great game between Archeans and Vectari now had their own voices, protected by human-enforced neutrality zones and technology-sharing agreements. We've received word from the outer colonies, her AI assistant Aria reported privately through her neural link. The last of the hardliner insurgent groups has been contained. Their attempt to destabilize the quantum nullification field around Proxima Centauri failed. Santos acknowledged the report with a subtle nod. There were still those who resisted the new order, but they were becoming fewer and less effective. The Prometheus network had evolved far beyond its original defensive purpose, becoming the backbone of a new interstellar cooperation framework. Members of the Council, she addressed the gathering. Today marks the 5th anniversary of the Prometheus Accords. What began as a defensive measure has grown into something none of us could have predicted. The holographic display shifted to show the network of trading routes, research stations, and diplomatic outposts that now connected formerly hostile regions of space. Human ships, still armed with their formidable defensive technology, patrolled these routes not as conquerors but as guarantors of peace. Humanity's greatest contribution wasn't our technology, she continued, but our perspective. We showed that neutrality doesn't mean passivity, that strength doesn't require dominance, that innovation comes not from conflict, but from cooperation. Evening Tide Rising, now the Arxian High Commissioner for Joint Projects, added his own thoughts. We thought we were choosing sides in an ancient conflict. Instead, humanity showed us a new way to resolve our differences. More than that, Echo of Infinite Darkness interjected, her form shifting to display the formal patterns of academic discourse. They demonstrated that true power lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to know when not to use that ability. The meeting continued with discussions of new joint ventures, research projects, colonization efforts, and trading partnerships that would have been impossible just a few years ago. The Prometheus network, constantly learning and evolving, had become a tool for cooperation rather than just defense. Later, in her private quarters aboard the station, Santos reviewed messages from Earth's colonies, reports of increasing prosperity, technological breakthroughs, and cultural exchanges filled her screen. But one message caught her attention, a request from a group of younger Arxians and Vecteri to study at Earth's universities. They want to learn how we think, Dr. Jean commented, joining her for their usual evening discussion. Not just our technology, but our approach to problem solving. And that's the real victory, Santos replied, smiling. Not that we forced them to stop fighting, but that we showed them a better way forward. They're choosing to change. The view from her window showed Earth below, its night side glittering with lights, while above, ships from dozens of species moved peacefully through space that had once been a battlefield. Project Prometheus's defensive platforms still maintained their vigilant watch, but they were no longer just weapons of deterrence. They were beacons of stability in a galaxy learning to cooperate. They should have let us stay neutral, Jean mused, echoing a phrase that had become common in diplomatic circles. But I'm glad they didn't. Their mistake forced us to show what humanity is truly capable of. Not just capable of, Santos corrected him, but destined for. We didn't just maintain our neutrality. We made it a force for positive change. As if to emphasize her point, a new ship design appeared on her display. A joint project combining the best elements of all three civilizations' technology. It would be the first of its kind. A deep space exploration vessel crewed by members of all three species, protected by Prometheus technology, but dedicated to discovery rather than defense. The galaxy was changing, and humanity had been the catalyst. Not through conquest or submission, but through the stubborn insistence that there was always a better way forward. The mistake of underestimating humanity's neutrality had led to the greatest peace the galaxy had ever known. In the end, it wasn't weapons or technology that had changed the balance of power. It was the simple human belief that cooperation was stronger than conflict, that innovation was better than destruction, and that neutrality, properly maintained, could be the strongest position of all.